Hello, my beautiful friend. I wanted to talk to you about boundaries today. I pulled out a card today and it said Bound Aries. And Aries are great at setting boundaries. In fact, it's very important also to set boundaries with an Aries or anyone with like a Scorpio, Aries energy because it's ruled by Mars and Mars is very intense and it can be very aggressive and it could like, it's unaware of it because it's pushing past people's boundaries unaware in terms of their time, their energy. Um, just like it's so intense. You know what I mean? So, one of my friend was asking me about my family and if like how intense that is when I hang out with them because I'm celebrating my mom's birthday this Saturday. And shout outs to all the Tauruses out there. Happy birthday season, Taurus season. And I remember it was draining. I would get drained sometimes in the past, and the solution was boundaries. So, hey, I love you guys. When you're venting about something, I feel dot dot dot. I would much rather we do it this way, right? So that's a boundary. Or, hey guys, I'm working right now. Can we chat on our regular scheduled time, which is every Saturday or Sunday? Saturday. So having the healthy boundaries, expressing those boundaries leads to empowerment, right? Leads to a win-win situation. So, and a beautiful takeaway in this relationship that I was in just really helped me. We both have Aries placements, and what a beautiful takeaway was how like my default is being my intense self, and if I'm just set in my ways, I'm not going to change them. If they're blind spot, if I'm not aware of how they're impacting others, till someone says, hey Tark, when you say this, when you do this, I feel this way, right? Like I feel overwhelmed. I feel like there's a boundary here that I'm wanting to push back. So with people who don't respect your boundaries, they need to be told. We need to tell others where our boundary is. We need to share how it feels when they're crossing that boundary. We need to exercise those boundaries. So the best thing for me was to have someone tell me how, tell me their boundary and let me know how it feels, because the Aries just sometimes shoots out all this energy and is unaware of how the other person feels about it, and it doesn't look at it as like necessarily a bad thing. It just sees it as intense, but there's like a lot of emotions being projected. There's a lot of intensity. Could be wounding, could be ego, could be control, could be all these things. And when I was mirrored back about like, hey, this feels like you're blaming, this feels like you're projecting, this feels like you're crossing a boundary with my time and energy, I was like, whoa, thank you so much. You're helping me know how my default is. So the worst thing you do is not confront the person about it. So we got to get as society. It's amazing that we're getting better and better at confronting. People are so afraid to confront. Aries have no problem confronting. So the medicine, the more we can heart-centeredly confront each other, growth and transformation happens out of that. And so same thing with my family. As soon as I expressed those boundaries, I was thinking about it today and I was like, have has that happened since? I was like, I love hanging out with my family. I lived with them for several months last year. And I was like, wow, like those boundaries really changed everything. And it's like everyone keeps doing things till they're taught that they need to do it differently. So that's my golden nugget for now is what boundaries are we not expressing that need to be expressed with others, and where are we crossing other people's boundaries, and to go even deeper, what are we projecting onto others? So if I'm with someone else, I want them to know what I'm projecting so I could take ownership of it. What are we projecting onto others, and giving them consent to give us that constructive feedback, and then what are others projecting onto us, because that's not our homework. It's not our homework when someone else tries to involve us in their projection, in their, what they need to work on, right? So we focus on what we need to work on. Our homework is what is inside of us, and they got to focus on their homework, and that creates that's a boundary again, healthy boundary between the two. And it's okay if we slip up and have blind spots and project. That's what the ego does. So it's not about like, oh my God, I don't feel safe with this person because their ego just like did this tactic. All our egos have tactics, right? And sometimes we just need that reminder, that nudge, because to me it's a red flag, not if it slips up. It's a red flag if when it's shared. This is where the real red flag is for me, because a lot of people we're so trigger happy and using red flags left and right. To me, the red flag is when I share the blind spot or the projection. Is the person saying, thank you so much, yeah, I'm open to hearing that. Thank you for sharing that feedback. Let me sit with it. It rings true, doesn't ring true. If it does ring true, I take responsibility for that. So once I hear that, I can go, oof, I'm dealing with someone, like I can just settle. I'm dealing with someone who's owning up to their stuff. And that's a non-negotiable for me if they don't. Like if every time I call them out or call them in on something, and every single time there's an excuse, there's a deflection, I've dealt with someone who every time I try to share constructive feedback, she'd be like, you did that last week. It's like, and I was, that's defensiveness. That's again the ego not wanting to be pointed out. So it is a delicate thing, and I also had that in the past. So I was someone's red flag. I still could be someone's red flag. But do you guys know the distinction now, where it's like we all have blind spots, slip ups? The ego is doing things unconsciously sometimes. And then it's about when it's called out or called in those moments, how is the person responding? And for me, as soon as someone lets me know, hey, that was really intense the way you said it, or there was projection in how you said it, or you threw in some of your own emotions in there, and I was like, ooh, thanks for letting me know. I take back all those emotions I sent your way. I send love instead. Do you forgive me for doing that? I share my perspective. I wasn't aware that I was doing that. Thank you. Please let me know in the future. I'm going to go do a healing and work on that, so that moving forward I'm more mindful of when I'm communicating, not to add the sauce, because the other person, it's not okay for us to dump on others. And just to conclude, one more nugget. I don't know how to just do one nugget, like 1 minute videos. I got to get better at that. But the one nugget, the other nugget I would say is making sure that when there's a difference between dumping on someone else, venting on someone, versus like sharing our raw emotion. And for me, the biggest lesson I learned with my Aries intensity is there's anger, rage, intense aggressiveness, and then there's vulnerability, right? So what is underneath the anger? I wrote a poem yesterday, and I was like, I was feeling angry, and I was like, what's underneath the anger? And underneath the anger, there was hurt, there were tears. So sharing the vulnerability. So if someone's at that intense emotion, it's like, hey, what's underneath that? And one of my partners in the past, Leo Hart, she's a Leo sun, and she'd always be like, can we come back to our hearts? So whenever it was getting really intense and aggressive, she would just be like, hey, can we come back to our hearts? Because now I'm just like going to war with the person unconsciously, just thinking I'm expressing passionately, but it's passion and aggression is a thin line. And I love that, so that was a beautiful hack, just being like, can we come back to our hearts? And it's how we can still communicate how we feel. There's a way to do it where it doesn't mean it has to be soft and gentle. It could still be raw and intense, but it's not dumping it on the other person. And the other hack we had was the pause. So I came up with the pause. People who have experienced trauma in the past, you always have the right to go, I would like to request a pause. Pause just means we stop talking, we stop emoting, we just are present, and then we're responsible. Like in a relationship, codependency happens when you come into it being like, you're gonna mother my child, you're gonna father my inner child. You're gonna be the mother and father of my inner child. You're gonna be the solution to my, there's a hole in my soul and you're gonna fill it, right? That's codependency. And the healthy way to do that is to come at it from I'm whole and complete. We want our partners to let us know where we're creating codependencies. Like we want to give that feedback to each other so we're staying in our power, because there's like this, we could slip up and start to create that codependency. And really just to go deeper. Okay, what's under that anger? Okay, what's under that? What's under that? As long as you're still stuck in like blaming the other person or making it about them, you're missing the blessing of that opportunity. There's a lesson in that. You're co-creating those experiences with your partner. How can you take responsibility, especially if you're like, this happened before and before and before. There's something, you're the common denominator, not from a blame place, but from a place of what is this here to teach me, right? We're not victims. What is this here to teach me? What are the lessons from this experience? And as long as there's still anger, you got to go deeper, and until you get to, thank you so much. But you can't fake it. You got to go through those got to go through, just like grief. There's like a whole journey of it, steps to get there. So, if there's anger, but if you're directing it at someone else, then you're missing the point, because they were just there to mirror something back for you. So keep going deep, keep taking ownership of it. If the mind's trying to like deflect and play victim and blame, like bring it back into the truth, right? Of what's really happening. And it's so like, that's really requires like that discipline, mental discipline, awareness, deep work. The attitude of taking ownership of your experiences, and we all can do it. If I could do it, you can do it better. So we all can do it, and that's all I want to share for now. So I didn't know what this was going to be, to be honest, and it turns out it was several hacks in relationships, especially if you have boundaries as an issue, and especially if you have you're dealing with someone who has intense energies. And then we talked about victim consciousness versus, I call it creator consciousness. And then how to take, it's called taking radical responsibility. And there's the other thing is radical vulnerability and radical transparency. And you can add to this, and I'll stop, I promise. Making sure in communication that you're implementing and practicing nonviolent communication. So if you're not aware of that, go on YouTube, check out a video about that. Let me know what you guys think about what I've shared. Is this helpful? Do you have any questions or comments below? Any area you'd like me to kind of do a deep dive on? All right, much love. And if you guys want help in relationships, the Love in 5D program, I'm about to listen to it. Anything in the way of you being able to manifest your life partner, your queen, your king, your soulmate, your life partner, whatever you want to call it. This program helps you get there in the easiest, fastest way possible. It's called Love in 5D, and it's a beautiful program. So you can check it out on tarikbb.com, and I'll see you guys soon.